So this video here is just to demonstrate on how I sharpen a knife. Now it doesn't matter what knife it is, whether it's a pocket knife or a full knife. Now if it's a pocket knife, what I do is I take the stone and I put it on its edge and use the edge of the stone, because pocket knife has such a small surface area and I don't want to be digging, literally digging on the stone in one small area on the large face, because it starts wearing it out. So the best thing is to use the edge of the stone for the small knives. For a large knife, of course, that's got a large area that's going to utilize a lot of the stone. Then you use the face of the stone. So the first thing to do, now this knife has already been filed, so we skip that demonstration, and we put the lubricant, in this case kerosene, on the stone. Make sure you put plenty of it, and this is how I go about it. So I just go in a forward and backwards motion, utilizing the whole length of the knife and the whole length of the stone. I concentrate more usually on the edges of the stone, because on the middle, you're always going to put more pressure whether you realize it or not, because you're always afraid if you keep going back and forth in a straight motion, you always put more pressure in the center because you're afraid of coming out of the edges, so you kind of reduce the pressure without even realizing it. So this is how I go about it. Now this knife has a curve, so you gotta sort of follow the curve on it. So I just go back and forth. Keep it at the same angle with a little bit of pressure on your left hand, with your fingers on your left hand on the blade. When you're doing the very tips, again, I go pretty much to the corner and the edges of the blade, because I'm just using a very small section of the blade and I don't want to wear the stone. So I just keep going back and forth. Use the whole stone, but again, concentrate on the edges more. Just keep a steady hand and a consistent angle. And again, the left hand keeps steady pressure on it, dragging along the blade as you go back and forth. The right hand is the one that really keeps the angle on it. Now you do the same thing on the other side. You could take your left hand and do that, but you're not going to hold it. If you're right-handed, you're going to have a hard time holding that angle steady. So what I do is I don't do that. So I merely now draw the knife towards me. Just change the angle. And again, the same process. You try to do it about the same amount of time as you did on the other side. Tips are important. A lot of times one has a tendency to not have it as sharp on the tips. Okay, now you just a little bit lighter on the other side, just basically to get rid of that burr. Not too much pressure, and essentially at this point what you're doing is you're sort of polishing that bevel, making sure whatever little burr comes off. Now this stone is a Arkansas translucent stone. You can do this on any stone. The process is the same. So let's see what it looks like. So one way of testing it a little bit is, you can of course run your finger on it. Careful with that. But if you try to put it on your nail and see if it catches your nail, the steeper it catches your nail, I mean the lower the angle at which it catches your nail, the sharper it is. If the knife was to just go forward now and not catch on the nail, then it would be dull. But since it has a very fine edge, it's catching on it, so it's sharp. It is very sharp, actually. You could do several things more after it. You could strop it. That's what I usually do. If you have even a finer stone, which that stone is a finer stone, is what you call a Arkansas surgical black. And it's not called surgical for nothing, because essentially what it does, it doesn't really cut a whole lot. What it does, it basically, you can hear by the sound, compared to the sound of the other stone. It basically polishes your edge. It's like a strop, really. Again, you got to keep that consistent angle, not too steep, because if you go too steep, you're basically just dulling the edge that you created before. And if you are at too much of an angle, you're basically going behind that edge and you're not doing anything, really. Same thing for this stone, where you use most of its surface. This one is not used as often. It's basically just for finishing touches. And it is sharp. You can try to shave with it. I don't have a lot of hair left here. So now there's a little bit less hair. And that's how I do a knife. Again, doesn't matter what knife it is, how long it is. The shorter it is, the better it is to then do it on the edge of the stone. Such as a short pocket knife. And that's basically it. The secret with these things now is not to allow it to get dull. So occasionally you can just take it to either one of the stones and just touch it up a little bit. This way you maintain them sharp all the time without a lot of work to do that.